give you a quick overview of what we're trying to do, and then a physical demonstration of the hoped effects. We're going to try to keep this program short so we can get out of here quickly because it is a full moon and everyone wants to get home. After the presentations, we're going to have a short table session where we'll ask you a couple of questions, and if you could give your honest answers, just voice whatever you think or whatever's on your mind, we'd really appreciate it. Okay? And I'd like to introduce our resident scientists, Pete Marchetto and Katie Marchetto. Pete is going to do the presentation. Actually, I forgot one thing. We'd really like to thank Cornell Cooperative Extension and also OSI. They're the ones that brought this cohort together and actually gave us the training and actually helped guide us with this whole process of deciding what we want to do, how we were going to help the community. So good hand of applause.
All right. I'm Pete Marchetto. You're probably wondering who the heck is this guy and why should I listen to him, right?
Yes.
Okay. Excellent. A little bit of doubt and critical thinking went a long way. So my background is in biological and environmental engineering. Grad degrees are from Cornell. Used to be a professor in an agricultural engineering department at the University of Minnesota. But I grew up over in West End for the first few years of my life, so I'm used to Fort Jervis, and my wife and I moved back relatively recently, the last few years, to the area. We're up in Forestburg now with a brook behind our property that I always worry is going to flood. Now, Fort Jervis has a little bit of a history of flooding. You may know this, I take it? So, one of the things that I really wanted to get across to folks is that when we first started this community action group that we pulled together, that's becoming this Sunflower City organization, one of the things that really struck me was that people would talk about all the flooding in Port Jervis as if it was the same. Now, my background's partially in hydrology, the actual study of how water moves. So I can tell you that there are two things that are for certain. Water moves downhill, and all the rest of the rules of hydrology follow from that. Although things get really strange when you get underground, but we'll leave that for later. The thing with Port Jervis is that there's two types of flooding that happen. And you may have noticed this, you may have not. And people will usually conflate, they'll confuse the two. There's the flooding that's the river's responsible for. And then there's the flooding that rain is responsible for. Now, the two can happen at the same time, because the river doesn't go up unless there's rain or dam release further up, right? The thing is that for us, in the hydrology world, we have terms for that, and I want to use those now so that you learn what we're talking about if you ever hear these terms again. So, think about it this way. We have fluvial and pluvial flooding. Pluvial, think plop of raindrops. Fluvial, think an open flume of water coming down the river gorge. So that's how you remember these two. Port Jervis has had its fair share, some might say unfair share, of fluvial flooding from the Delaware and from the Neversink as well. Whenever there's a large hurricane or anything like that that brings a lot of water up from the ocean and then deposits it further up in the Catskills and the Poconos, it comes down through the Mongaup and the Neversink and the Lackawaxen and all these other rivers and just joins the mainstream of the Delaware, and eventually it winds up down at Cape May and Lewes and out in the Atlantic. But we're kind of sitting at that big bend in the way, right? A little bit of a chance for erosion, a little bit of a chance for flooding, especially if you live in West End or if you live in certain parts of the 4th Ward. Then we have the pluvial flooding side. The pluvial flooding side is because of the fact that we have rain coming down. And as my wife, Dr. Marchetto, will be showing you shortly, we have this little thing called infiltration. Any of you ever do a perk test for a septic system? or had to go through that whole ordeal of finding an engineer to actually do one? Right. So a perk test is a test of what we call infiltration. It's how fast, think about it this way. Have you ever made filtered coffee where you pour water in through the coffee grounds, like on Chemex if you're really fancy, or just one of those filter holders if you're one of us normal folks? Yeah, this is that. The coffee grounds are dirt. You're pouring water in at some rate. At some point, it backs up. Eventually, it trickles through. If you've ever had to do a perk test, what you're doing is you're basically treating the dirt as the coffee grounds in the filter. You put in some amount of water and you time how long it takes for it to go in. Now down here in downtown Port Jervis, well, such as it is, especially along Jersey Ave, Front Street, Pennsylvania, Owen Street over here, this whole area that's relatively flat, down below the hill that Main Street's running on. There's a type of soil here called silty loam. Silt is tiny little particles, usually of organic matter, usually of silica and sand and stuff like that. And then loam is the organic matter that's in there from decayed trees, decayed bushes, decayed dead rabbits from ages past. Doesn't matter what it is, it's all organic matter. It's stuff that actually gives you the nutrients for plants to grow in. And what happens is that silty loam is not very good at letting water through. So what Katie will be showing you is what happens when you look at silty loam or clay, which is very similar, and what happens when you look at sand, and how fast water will infiltrate through them. What we're worried about is the fact that silty loam has an infiltration rate of about, at most, 1/4 of an inch per hour. Now, anybody care to take a guess how fast rain comes down in a summer thunderstorm in Port Jervis? How many inches per hour?
24 inches.
A little bit lower than that. Any other guesses?
Inch and a half.
Oh, you're right in the middle. It's usually between 1 and 2 inches per hour. Dead on. You a meteorologist?
No, but I've been here a long time.
Okay. Makes you an expert on the city at least. So that's the problem. If you can only get 1/4 of an inch per hour to soak in, and you're getting 2 inches per hour, then that means if you get that much rain for a full hour, it's going to take a minimum of 4 hours for it to soak into the ground. The other thing is that when it's soaking into the ground, eventually it reaches the bedrock layer and it starts piling back up until it gets somewhere else. So until the water can eventually flow out down to the Delaware or down to the Neversink or somewhere else in the surface waters of the area, it's stuck and more water is piling up behind it. So if we have a large storm come through with 5 inches of rain, and that would be a large storm for Port Jervis, but not unreasonable, we've certainly seen more than that, then that means that anybody who's down here in the flat zone is going to have problems, right? We also have one more big deal, and that's that canal that we have coming down from the reservoirs. You may have noticed, if you go take a look at it, that there's cracks in the foundation of that canal. All the concrete has these areas that water can seep through. And if you have a house along the canal or channel, you know for a fact that if you've got one of those nice old fieldstone basements, the dry laid ones, you know the one I'm talking about? Yeah, it's going to be a little bit moist in there, especially if it rains and if there's overflow from the reservoirs. That is a form of pluvial and fluvial flooding, which we might be able to do something about. So let me get down to brass tacks about what we're proposing to do. What we want to do is we want to take that soil that's compacted. Soil gets even more compacted when it's under grass, both because of the fact that you're running a lawnmower back and forth over it, and also because of the fact that grass knits its roots together in the first few inches. It makes an almost impervious surface that water can't get through. Then it sucks up a little bit of the water, but mostly it just seals off the soil. And the soil underneath the grass is all caught up in there. It's like a rock if it gets dry, and then it takes a long time for it to wet down again. So, if you've got a lawn, if you've got a driveway, if you've got a house, if you've got a street, if you've got a sidewalk, all of these are relatively impervious surfaces. So that makes it so that you get closer to like 1/100th of an inch per hour at most, that you can get water to infiltrate through that. It's much, much slower even than silty loam that's been compacted. What we want to do is engage your help in planting plants that can break up that soil and get water to seep in faster. If we can do that, because there's usually room in the soil column for water in Port Jervis. The groundwater doesn't come up that high most of the time. But if we can do that, if we can break up the soil and get the water down inside by using sunflowers, carrots, in some cases winter wheat or other things, there are a lot of plants that we can use to break up that soil. Some of them are also great plants for pollinator gardens, like the sunflowers. Some of them are asters and other natives. But the thing is that all of those are plants that can actually break up that soil and get the water to go down in it. And when we do that, then we start to address the risk of pluvial flooding in Port Jervis. And that's our plan. That's our big goal, is to basically get you to say, okay, I'll sacrifice a little bit of my grass lawn to put down some seeds, and then I'll accept a sensor from you guys to see whether or not my basement gets wet, or see whether or not I've got standing water on top of the soil. That's the last big part of this, is that we want feedback, both from you guys about the program, but also eventually when we get this rolling, not only do we want to do plantings, we want to do two things that will let us know by real measurable metrics whether or not we're succeeding. One of them is to put sensors out, two different types, and I actually have one of them over here, and one in my bag. This, close your ears. Oh, that doesn't beep all as loud as I thought it would. I guess the batteries are dying. So,
Close enough, but
true. This is a basement leak sensor. It comes either with or without the additional little sensor on the side. You can just use this. It's got little contacts on the bottom. What we'd ask you to do is put this in your basement. Let us configure it so that it would email us when there's any dampness in your basement that's like standing water, and it will also alert you. You'll get a notification on your phone from this through your house's Wi-Fi network saying, hey, you have a... Oh, here. Yeah, like I said, I think the batteries are dead on this. It will be louder if you have fresh batteries.
It's aggravatingly loud if you have fresh batteries.
Either way, if this was quiet, if this was connected to Wi-Fi right now, which unfortunately I don't have the VFW's guest Wi-Fi password, then I would be getting a notification on my phone and my watch saying basement is flooding. So we want to be able to both get that data from a house that's participating in the program, and we also want to provide that service to you to actually keep an eye on your own property. The other thing that we have, I forgot to grab this from my bag before. The other fun toy that I brought tonight, behind all of our nut squash recipes, is this. This is a little radio node known as a Meshtastic node. These operate in the old cell phone band with the frequency that used to be used by 3G cell phones. And what these allow us to do is hook them up to a distance sensor and put it outside. Distance sensor will tell us how high the water is on the ground. Now this gives us a couple of different bits of information. One of the things that this gives us is whether or not there's flooding in a particular neighborhood. And then we can pass that on to the city of Port Jervis to allow the DPW, the fire department, whoever else, to know this is what you need to route around. This is who might need you to go and pump them out, pump their basement out, etc. The other thing about this is that this communicates without need for any sort of radio license or anything like that via essentially little 200-character text messages. And it's completely independent of all cell phone networks and the internet. It can work even in the middle of a hurricane coming through Port Jervis and wiping all other communication out. So the idea that we have for this secondarily is if we can get these out to enough people, we can also have that notify you on your phone, hey, avoid the Pike Street Bridge, there's 10 feet of water under it right now, or the Pike Street overpass. So by putting together a sensor network like that in Port Jervis, we have a couple of different things that we're getting. We're getting another means of communication that we didn't have before, that other people can get if cell phones go down, if the internet goes down, if landline telephones go down. Because, I mean, these things can be solar powered very easily. And we're also getting actual measurements of how much water is on the ground from the areas where we're testing this. Now, insofar as where we're testing it and all of that, I'd have to hand you over to Katie for that, because she's the ecologist here. She knows more about plants and also the experimental design. And we'll be getting questions after this.
Okay, a key part of this is having plants to put their roots down in the soil to break up sort of the soil that is both compacted and also has teeny tiny little particles. So that will allow water to go through faster. So this idea of water infiltration. So we have sort of a demo for you guys. We've got sandy soil, and we've got some clay soil. And we're just gonna see how quickly the water can fall down through them.
Do we want to maybe move it to this table so everyone can see?
I'm not sure if we'll be able to see it better there. What do people think?
Can everyone see the demo? No. And maybe we can move it
Okay.
forward.
Sorry. That's okay. Oopsies. It's okay.
We could do the breakfast.
So this one is sand. So hypothetically, we would expect this one, because the particles of the soil are larger on average, that you would get faster infiltration through it. And this one is a clay soil, so it's more similar to the soil down in certain parts of Port Jervis where the water doesn't infiltrate very well. So let's see how this goes. Oops. And
Just like coffee.
yeah, and as Pete said, I am an ecologist, so the experiment, this sort of demo largely came out of our recycling bin.
Those pure leaf tea balls are good for something else.
I don't know, like, that's as much water as they'll allow. Okay, so we,
This one's dripping.
yeah, so we started getting a little dripping. It takes a little while, so we might need to wait until later on, but we'll just keep an eye on it and see which of these infiltrates faster. So this one started a little faster for some reason, but this one seems to be dripping a little faster, but we'll keep an eye on it as we go and just sort of see which one drops the water down here fastest. And so it's like, does this one have the water at the bottom first, or does this one end up with a flood on top? So it's gonna take a little while, so let's go back to it later.
Another couple of things that we wanted to show you folks. On the table, you're going to find a map of Port Jervis, just a street map. And what we'd like to ask you to do when you're talking about questions that we'll bring up shortly, take some time in between and mark out on that map at your table where flooding has been, where you've personally observed flooding in the past in port. And if you want to take one of the Post-it notes and leave either your contact info or further information about what that flood was, maybe when it was, or exactly what the context was in which you saw it, that would be very much appreciated. The other thing that we have that's a little bit more participatory is over here on the table, and that is we have Port Jervis in black plastic. This is a topological relief map with 10 times the elevation exaggeration, just so that you can really see where the peaks and valleys are. One side of this is marked north, so right here is actually Point Peter, and we are down here below it in this little hollow. What we'd invite you to do sometime this evening, come up here, pick up the spray bottle, and flood port. Basically, just spray it a little bit, shake it, and see where the water settles.
And I think right now it's still on spray the cat if the cat's doing something
Oh
bad.
yeah, that's right, I should open this up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
if you see any tooth marks on the front of this bottle, it's because of our cat. Sorry about that.
Yeah. There we go.
So now it's
more
raining.
rain and less, bad cat
The
spray.
storm's actually on top of High Point right now, it looks like. All right, so we invite you to spray Port Jervis, the entire thing.
Okay, before we continue with the questions and responses, we'd like to thank our hosts, the VFW, and also Bill Harris for providing a really nice spread for everyone. And I'd like to introduce Yulka, who is from CCE, and she's a very key part of forming of our organization and bringing us up to speed about what, ideas that we should promote or how we should go about it, and your organization, everything, as well as OSI. But Yulka's going to bring the questions and bring the format of how we're going to structure questions and responses.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, Stephen. So this was.
And also a hand applause for Keith and Katie.
And of course to Stephen. Yes, thank you so much. So what we're going to do now is we're going to engage in a dialogue around your tables. And this is called a community cafe, which what you heard on or saw on the flyer. And the piece of that is that basically, or the method of this dialogue is designed so that it gets the tables engaged around a specific topic to talk about some ideas that come up. But it really serves as a way to kind of seed the table with ideas. And so I want to invite every table to determine one person who is a kind of a scribe. And I'm just realizing we don't have paper for the scribing on there besides the Post-it notes, so I'll go around in a minute and hand out some papers. But the idea is that you have one person who is taking just general notes of what you're talking about. It doesn't have to be word for word or exactly what is being said, but just kind of note down in bullet points what is being discussed. And so you're going to get a series of 3 questions. And after every question, we're going to rotate the tables. So everyone at the table is going to get up except for the person who's the scribe. And the reason being is that really we want to also build community in the process so that you get to hear each other's ideas from different angles, from different people. And then you have an opportunity to contribute and build onto what the table said before you. So I'll walk you through this as we go through the cafe, or the dialogue, but the idea is that the scribe then tells the next group just very generally what were some of the things discussed, and the new group builds onto that. So you're all seating the room with your ideas, and you're sharing and hearing each other's ideas, and you continue. Oh, amazing, thank you. I have some paper tools. Yes, thank you. Wow, this is teamwork, you know? I love it. Thank you. Okay, so I'll prompt you all to do what you're doing, and or what to do, and then you'll follow along. One other thing is that you're going to discuss the questions for maybe 10 minutes or something like that. We're going to, or some of us might be walking around the room just to hear, is the conversation really flowing or are you stalling? And then we're going to move on to the next question. So the conversations that you have may feel unfulfilling or unfulfilled because you didn't finish saying all the things you want to say. But that's okay, because there's so much to say that we need to continue the conversation outside. So here's really the idea: let's pop some thoughts on the table, get really interested, hopefully, or have questions, and then move on to the next so that we feel, you'll get the gist of it. Okay? Okay. So the first thing that you need to do, and I would say, do the three of you want to join the table over there? Would you mind? That would be great. Then we have just a little bigger groups. And one other thing too is that share the microphone around the table. So give each other chances to talk. If you feel like you're not the person who talks as much, give yourself a little push interest, to say something, a nudge. That's what I was going to say. Because everyone's voice is really important. Okay, we want to hear from every single one of you. And those of you who tend to take the microphone for a longer time, just, keep it a little briefer. But we want to hear from you too. Okay? So the first question that you're going to talk about, I'll write it down here in a minute, is what does resilience mean to you? Or what does resilience mean? What does it mean to you? Okay? And I will later kind of somehow get everyone's attention back, and then we'll switch her around, and I'll give instructions for the next. Sound good? Okay.
We've outed ourselves now.
So, what is resilience? It's like not a super common word. I'll get this flexible. Adaptability.
Katie's volunteering.
Be able to persist through adversity.
It has to couple up with, endurance, obviously something that's, ability to bounce back.
So, to endure and such that you said something else too, right? Continue on after whatever you're doing. I don't know how to figure it out.
Ability to continue.
Wonderful. I'm sure they're not your last thoughts, but the thought that is sometimes very extra on the table.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Is that right? Yeah.
I flip that back from me.
It's nice to have.
We could, imagine there's like some manager there.
We didn't really do in the beginning was to really introduce ourselves by name and all of this. So I've met most of you. My name is Julika von Stratenberg with Cornell Cooperative Extension. I'd love to introduce Aisha for a second.
Hi everyone, I'm Aisha. I work at Open Space Institute and have had the pleasure of working with Yulika and the wonderful cohort of people who are bringing this design and project to life. Just want to say thank you for coming, for listening, for sharing your inputs. And there's more to come, but I just wanted to.
Yeah, and point to the.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, so,
Our demonstration takes a little while, but eventually.
so you can see here, this is the sand and that is the clay. There is much more water that has percolated or reached the bottom here through the sands. And you'll see that the clay is still flooded up top. So Katie can explain this better than I can if you want to come back.
I mean, you got it.
It speaks for itself.
Yeah.
So, little simulation of what different clays in Port Jervis is doing. Just want to re-invite you to flood Port Jervis's model and not the real one. And you will see we have taped up this very maybe stressful but big map. And you also have a copy on your tables that shows some of the flood projections where flooding could be worse at in certain parts of Port Jervis. And we can talk about that in a while, but just wanted to bring your attention to some of the interactive pieces that we have going on, and we'll invite questions for that later. Thank you, and I'll get back to you.
And so we actually want to do a harvest now. And we're going to briefly talk about some of the experience or about your, I'll call you back. And we want to talk about what was it like to discuss these things, to hear about, to go through the questions, to, you know, talk to each other around the table, to get up and move. What was that experience like?
Inspiring.
Inspiring. What? Okay. Awesome. So what maybe I'll also ask, what were some of the themes that you heard around the different groups? Whether you got up or you stayed, but you had different people join your table. What were some themes that you noticed?
Curiosity.
Okay.
Beauty.
Beauty? Uh-huh. Stephen? Ideas. Fellowship and community.
What does it mean?
What was that? Did somebody else say something? Okay. Okay. So just so you know, I don't want to ask every scribe to repeat everything that was said, but I would love to invite the scribes around the tables to sort of highlight some of the things that stood out. We will, as a matter of fact, hold on to the notes. So that we can, write them all up and make sure we document this, and we will tell you what you all said afterwards by, sending you an email if you have signed up on our sign-up sheets that are going around on the tables. So would you be willing to start to extract some themes?
Sure. I think that we said, so I'll start with what we liked about the project. It was a way for the community to be involved in finding a solution to this a beautification project, we said. We also said, hold on, there's some really good ones. It's an easy way to, an easy and affordable way to be involved in real solutions in your community, like tangible ones. And you can remain in charge of how much you're able to participate and contribute. So I loved that. We also said the Sunflower City, the name in itself really increases the positive perception of Port Jervis. whose reputation sometimes ebbs and flows with things going on. So it really brought a lot of positivity. And also, I'm just gonna say the most amazing idea that we had for what would you need to make it happen? Well, clearly we would need to have a festival or an event around sunflowers. I'm gonna leave on that. I mean, is there anything else I don't wanna take everybody's answers.
Okay, those are some great things that are standing out. Thank you, and you can contribute as the tables go around, so yes.
So, one thing that I didn't know about Port Jervis is it has a contest for decorations at Halloween and Christmas. So one idea was like, well, maybe we have one of these, but for sunflowers. Like, who has the most, the best, the prettiest sunflowers? So it's, that's one way that we can sort of tap into something that is already happening, but make it sunflower. I thought that was a good idea.
Anything else that came from as a scribe that you would sort of extract from there? By the way, this portion of the evening is called the harvest. You see, so you're already planting seeds, you planted seeds. Now we're beginning to harvest, so.
I'm maybe gonna leave it to another person. We, for question 2, we had some questions about what's going on with the project anyway, and then I started talking about ecological stuff that I don't think anyone cares about, so.
Okay, but I mean, so you're highlighting the fact that there's curiosity around the table, which opens the door to talk about things that have to do with nature. Okay?
Google culture?
Google culture.
That's fine.
Thank you.
That came up.
Google culture. Google culture. Can you please spell it for me? What, explain, because maybe not everybody knows.
I'm terribly sorry, I'm forgetting your name.
Sue.
Sue. Sue was explaining how the garden club actually maintains a couple of plantings throughout town, including the ones over in front of the library and the ones by the Pike Street overpass and train bridge. And she was saying that the hardest part about that set of plantings is the fact that they can't seem to get the city to go back there after the first time they water for the season and actually maintain them, maintain watering. So I had mentioned to her a method that I've heard of and read about called Google culture, where you, if you want the spelling, it's, I believe it's Hugelkultur.
Sure. I would find that.
Hugeelk.
No, E-L, just one E.
One G.
You're the one who speaks German better than me.
Google culture. Culture.
Google culture.
Yeah.
Okay, Google culture.
Kultur, I thought it was. But anyway, the idea is you bury wood in the bed that you're going to plant into, and the wood decays and becomes a spongy mass, and apparently you only have to water about 20% as much as you would have to otherwise. So in that case, the one big watering at the beginning of the season might be enough.
Okay, but it brought up the important topic of water in the right dose.
Yep.
So yes.
And also storage of water underground.
And storage.
So now we know that Sue's going to get into Google culture, right?
Well, I'm definitely gonna bring it up to the garden club.
Yeah.
Yeah, is it like that? I don't know.
How long does it take that wood normally to decay, or do you start with a decaying piece of wood around?
It depends on the soil around it and the amount of water, and also the plants that you have there, because, once again, roots are great at breaking things up.
Yeah. Okay.
Wait, we had a good one under resilience. It was really
Come
good.
on, yeah.
Okay.
Give it to us.
So the definition, like what it means in this particular sense, was the ability for the community to survive and cultivate a survivor's mentality, like becoming resilient as a community. And communication. Ways for people to have other means of communication in emergency situations. Human to human is what we said. Human to human. And also the sensors providing that sense of safety. See, I'm one of those people who gets the microphone too much, which is why I decided to be the scribe. Here's my notes.
Amazing, yes. Okay, so what you're saying, I'm just kind of putting that, I see you, is, so there's this beautiful connection between humans, plants, and technology that can work to support the well-being and to nourish all of this beautiful community soil. Yes, nice.
So we have a definition for a way to increase resilience from Valerie, which was capital and more importantly, human capital. So if you have a human capital reservoir that we can draw on in times of crisis.
Sweet.
We also had something that was interesting with what you need to make it happen.
Uh-huh.
And for people who are handicapped or unable to, like elderly, if there was a pool of volunteers that could actually help people plant or make their garden beds and stuff. Like the National Honor Society, they participate.
Intergenerational.
Get yourself in.
Yeah, there's some of those in the room.
We're having block parties.
Okay, so let's hear from this table too. Like Wendy, what stood out from what you were talking
Well,
about?
what resilience meant was like bouncing back and bringing people together, basically, but, and what they liked was it's pretty, and it will bring people together, neighbors together. And, I like the block party and getting the city to water.
We need a list of plants.
Oh, a list of different plants that could be planted.
A list of, say that again, please?
Like we need a list of plants, and then also it was like having a sunflower day. What was that? Like cutting down harvesting the sunflowers so we could get the seeds before the birds eat them.
Okay.
Yeah, we said sunflowers are pretty until they're not. So,
Yes.
you know, and
So,
having a day where they can come around and harvest all them stalks, but it was brought to our attention, it's best to cut them down because the roots will still be there to decay and create them arteries. But so getting rid of those and possibly reusing those seeds for next year.
okay. Anything else that stood out from your,
Well, not that was not already said, really.
okay. What about the table over there? Did you have, was it you who was the scribe? Did you have anything else that stood out?
Just what you mentioned about removing stalks, because it's hard to get rid of those. I mean, you could compost them or something, but it might be beneficial if you just went around collect them during the season, and then we could use them for the bingo culture next year.
I mean, if they're woody enough, sure, why not?
And, if we have hybrid stalks.
And sourcing out food gardens,
Yeah.
Sourcing out
like being able to give to the community or the food banks or whatever,
the seeds.
or even the produce.
Like
Okay.
say if you're growing carrots, for instance.
Right.
Okay, yes.
And potatoes, they said potatoes. Horseradish garden.
Anything with big roots. And there's plenty of plants like that. Big roots, big tap roots, big branching roots. All
Yeah.
of those things would break up the soil the way we want them to.
Yeah, so incorporate edible root plants, I think we know that. Yeah.
Yo, I just, this thought just came to me, but like, I was thinking like, when you plant something, there's oftentimes like a long time between you like put the seeds in the ground and then you don't actually see anything happening, or maybe you only see like a little thing. So I don't know if maybe it's like a newsletter or on social media somewhere where like, you know, it could be like, this week you should be expecting this, like if, assuming everyone plants them around
Like
this
a
time.
what to expect for your
Your
sunflowers.
sunflowers, and just like,
What
even
to
like,
Expect what you expect in
even like a way.
Exactly what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah.
Like a way for people to send in pictures of like, oh, this is what's happening with mine. Maybe they planted a few weeks ahead, so you can like, you know, not give up the thinking like, oh, nothing is gonna happen, and to
That's a
keep people
great
talking
idea.
about it, like.
As you say, like you said, mark some of those areas too, so as you're driving through, you're like, this is this area. And as people are going through the town, they can see, oh, this was not here, now it's here, it's here. So you start looking around everywhere, start looking around the community.
Another reason I like that idea is sometimes when things are just coming up out of the soil, you might not know that that's what a baby sunflower looks like. So if there's something showing like, oh, you know, this week you should be hopefully seeing the sunflowers coming up, and this is what they look like when they're coming up, then you won't confuse them with something else, and you'll know, like, yes, that is the sunflower that I planted, and not, you know, some sort of weed that I don't want growing in there. I think that's a great idea.
Is sunflower direct sow or a seedling? Like, do you sow it directly into the soil?
I think
or-
direct sow.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Something that I didn't really get to mention much earlier, but which sounds like it would be useful in that context. Not only what to expect when you're expecting sunflowers, but also another thing that Katie and I talked about insofar as quantifying our success is we can take pieces of like pipe about 6 inches in diameter and put them into the soil in the beds that you're planting. Then you put one like on the lawn next to it or something like that, pour a fixed amount of water in and basically do a perk test. Time how long it takes the water to go down into the soil in both places. Report that back to us so we've got data, but also it gives you an idea of how effective this is being. Because you can actually observe in real time, oh, yes, when I started this garden plot, it was just acting the same as the lawn, but now I'm down to like 1/2 the time or 1/4 of the time to get water into the bed as I am to get it into my lawn. So I think that's a really powerful comparison, and for us, that's useful because the data will tell us how effective we're being in a particular area of Port Jervis.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that is a very, I think, great example of what a community data collection project can look like, because oftentimes data is collected by so-called scientists or experts. And it doesn't always get fed back to the community in a way that it makes sense, right? But if you can actually experience your data, you know, also grow your own understanding and knowledge of your surrounding and how to create an environment that is, you know, supporting the well-being of the entire ecology.
And this runs into the ideas of community or citizen science, which are getting very, very big in the scientific community these days, engaging people as citizen scientists to gather data that has more import and to also diffuse kind of the need for scientific labor out of just badly paid grad students and into the rest of us working for free. But the contribution and the appreciation for what you're learning about the place that you live, I think, more than makes up for it for, you know, pouring some water and timing it for about 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I feel like another, like going off continuing on sort of like the data and the community data, I always really appreciate like data visualization, and so like if there could be maybe like a live map that shows like, oh, this person planted sunflowers, this person like, and you whatever, I don't know how complicated that would be, but so that you could sort of see like where in your neighborhood, oh, like these people are doing it, these people are doing it, and like submit picture.
There's a complement to that as well insofar as the censored side of things. If you want to take a look at floodnet.nyc, the organization I work for full-time actually made that data visualization site, and it's a map of New York City that shows what the actual standing water on surfaces is, and we do actually have the capability of probably porting that software over here so that we can make FloodNet Port Jervis. So not only could we necessarily map who's doing what on top of the ground, but also by deploying the sensors, we'll also know where the flooding actually is in the first place, and then you can look at the map whenever you want to avoid those areas.
And one of the things that was brought up before, not just about the sunflowers particularly, but the sensors, and that the community members could be reassured by almost like the safety feature of having that sensor in their home, like, you know, a way for them to be warned if there was, so on the more science and data end of it, not just the pretty sunflower piece, that safety feature. Oh, did you? Did I say her?
No, I mean, you alluded to it, but I'll just write.
Safety through sensors? Is that it?
Yes, that's good. Isn't
I'll
it?
need to remember that because I'm a sensors guy and I need new taglines to sell things with.
Okay, you have it.
That little gadget's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, that's like what we need here.
Yeah, and the thing is, to put one of those stations together is like $40. The place I work for in my day job, Field Kit, we can't get a station for water depth that cheap. Ours are like $1,500, $2,000.
Yeah.
So, sorry.
I'd like to even expand upon the science, citizen science part of it, because we've been talking about the lower Fourth Ward here with regards to focus area for the sunflowers themselves. However, a lot of the water that ends up here starts uphill. So it's just not down here, but it's also encouraging other parts of the city to participate.
The catchment is not just the bottom.
Yeah, that really stood out to me because the land where we live on is up on much higher ground, and so originally I was thinking like, oh, like is there so much of a point? But yeah, like if all our grass fields were actually able to absorb water, that would probably help a lot.
Everywhere is downstream from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Until you get to the ocean.
So I just want to kind of share briefly about what the next step is with this project, and you know, everyone here, maybe those of you who've been part of these conversations since March, would you be able to raise your hand and like wave so we can make ourselves known? Yay! So it's a lot of people who've been, you know, thinking about this for some time, and thank everybody. We'll introduce them briefly, but so the Open Space Institute has a grant available that they promised this group that when you come up with this project, will help you make it happen. So the group is currently in the process of writing that application, of thinking through how this project can actually roll out and all of that. And so everything that you share is so valuable because it really is meant to benefit the whole community. And there's room to be involved, and I'll let others take it away and share. And I don't know if Stephen, you wanted to say a few more words, but yeah, I'll just say that we'll take the last, you know, bit of this evening to share, and then also for you all to have some conversation, to take a look at the maps. You know, hopefully you had a chance to
And
get
spray
some of
port
these,
Jervis.
Post-it notes, and you know, give us a story or something about your experience with flooding, because all of this will be accumulated and then, you know, help tell a story in ways that, you know, isn't really there. And I'm sorry, I'm just going to share one more thought that I had the other day, and that was that, you know, what if, you know, we have these conversations around climate change and weather events and all of this, but what if climate change was the language the Earth is using to tell us something? And we're not always listening to it because it's much slower than we talk or understand or can actually notice change. And what if we really understood what the earth and including, you know, the weather is telling us about what's going on. And if we could actually step into conversation. And to me, it feels, you know, the Sunflower Project is really a tool to step into conversation with our environment in a way that we normally don't do. But if we're using these sensors to listen, you know, to say like, how fast are you flowing through there? Can I help you make it more easy? You know, then you really have a very different way of looking at things. And okay, that's it.
Before I pass it off to Stephen, thank you so much, Yuluka. I just wanted to reiterate that the group has been working so hard since March 19th. Since March on, you know, understanding the risks, but also understanding where there's opportunity. And you guys have fed so much into this, and it's going to be incorporated. This is the second community cafe that the group has hosted. It is not going to be the last time to get input. I will leave it up to the cohort themselves to really give you more information. They are the stewards of this. They've been just so amazing, and I want to thank them for all their hard work and thank all of you for honoring their hard work and being here tonight. And the event's not over because we still have some more interactive stuff, but I'll pass it to Stephen.
So just two quick things. We really need to thank some people because Jen set up this all the food. The flowers that you see on the table, and also the seed packets. If you look at the table, the cards with the seed packets, please take them home with you because they have sunflower seeds in there. And then also Sarah for setting up our website. And Valerie?
Yeah. I just wanted to mention, I've been working with the Open Space Institute and with Cornell Cooperative on a variety of projects here in Port Jervis over a number of years. And I just want to give them their due here. OSI and actually Aisha and Yulka came to me within about 2 weeks of one another with very similar ideas. And it was about how to bring climate resiliency projects to Port Jervis. And I said, looking at them, I said, they're very similar and you two need to talk. OSI is a very large organization and their reach is expansive. They did one of these projects down in Tennessee. So they had a pilot already. So I had a good feeling that between them and Yulika, as you can see, community cafe, the format, how you get a conversation going. You get people who haven't met before to sit at a table and share ideas, and you move forward with the idea that you're going to end up with something positive. OSI is also helping the city of Port Jervis with our water quality improvement program, which is adding thousands of acres to the city's watershed up in the park. So OSI is quiet, but they're mighty. So, and every time there's a trail conference or something like that, there's an OSI person there someplace, and I get to meet somebody new. And Cornell Cooperative has so many wonderful programs going on in the community. Master gardeners, preservers, family interactions, discipline is not a dirty word, you know, etc. And I just thought it was just wonderful that these two organizations, through these wonderful people, came together to bring this program to Port Jervis. And I just wanted to let you know that we're very lucky.
Thank you. And just quickly, none of this would be possible without Valerie introducing us and for all the cohort's interest and everyone's feedback. So thank you as well. Really appreciate it. And you as well.
And everybody. And I hope you all had a chance to introduce yourselves around the table, because normally we would remind you to say hello, say your name, and you know, so you can meet each other. If you haven't done that, please do that, because you know that's the community that we have in our building.
And one very last thing, I know we didn't give you much time, but if you guys will put on the map where you experience flooding, see it, or even want to take a look at the flood map and see where you live and say, oh, I'm here, or I'm, you know, just making note and making connections, we really, really urge you to do so and really respect and appreciate your input and time. So thank you, everyone.
Please remember to mark your flood maps as well at your table.
Yes. Yeah, you can do the one on the table or one up there.
I was wondering if we could take a picture with everybody with your.
That would be amazing.
Anybody that's willing to be in it.
Yes.
The picture is always good.
Always great. So everybody who's willing, if
With
you
your
come
nice-
next to the, you can- yeah, bring the
I'm
flowers.
gonna move this table back a little bit.
Okay.
I love the fact that it's in a
Don't
stein.
worry, just stand there. And then you did it, but nobody knows.
Probably be,
Yeah, right.
That's swag, right? You stop it.
Yes.
That is so cute.
That's very cute, yeah. Okay, here.
Where are we looking first?
Dang sign-in sheets.
Good.
Sunflower City!
Let me just try one with a flash. I don't think I need it.
It doesn't think you need it either.
Nope, it does not. Perfect. Thank you so